Hello. I've been a Doctor Who fan for many years, and being a Doctor Who fan for many years, I feel as if I've amassed a great wealth of inherently pointless knowledge and experience around this television programme. However, it's important to note that even though I've been a Doctor Who fan since I was so tall, um, there are still many episodes of Doctor Who I have not seen. I've never seen the Crotons or the Dominators. I've never seen Mind of Evil or Invasion of the Dinosaurs. I've never seen Nightmare of Eden or Creature from the Pit. I've never seen Snake Dance or Frontiers. Never seen any of the Paladon stories. And there's a great wealth of William Hartnell stories that I have never seen. And this is in part due to the fact that many of them don't exist to be seen anymore. So what do you do when you're embarking on a task like this? Well, you work around it. And the way in which myself and the good lady Dr. Collins have worked around a gap in the library of Doctor Who this week, and for the first time in what will become an increasing experience, is I've tracked down something called a loose cannon reconstruction. Now, a brief potted history. Loose cannon are a group of Doctor Who fans, I believe, who got together and decided that it wasn't on that we didn't have Doctor Who episodes to watch. So they've taken the soundtracks. We have soundtracks for all Doctor Who stories. And anything else they could find. Publicity shots, scraps of film, anything. And stuck them together so that we can replicate what it is to watch a Doctor Who story, such as today's instalment, which is The Roof of the World, which, for those of you that know, and for those of you that don't, is episode 1 in Marco Polo, which, to me, feels like the first proper historical story in Doctor Who. Now, historical stories in Doctor Who built into its DNA. In all the documentation setting up the programme, the idea was that you'd have stories in the future, stories in the past, there'd be an educational element to it, and Marco Polo, I think now, may seem as an odd choice, but even when I was little, I think I knew what Marco Polo was all about, vaguely, and from my reading around the subject, I think that any kid in the 1960s would have a vague understanding of who Marco Polo was and what he did. So what we've ended up today is a story where we've got a soundtrack and lots of still photos, occasionally a subtitle that says something like, Ian looks at the footprint, just to fill in a bit of movement that you might need. So this could have been a peculiar, dreadful viewing experience. It could have been really disconcerting and dull. As it was, I've just watched perhaps the most enjoyable episode of Doctor Who I've watched so far, which is in part due to the fact I've not seen it prior to this point. But in terms of this process, I've had more fun tonight than perhaps any other night. Let's talk about the episode. It's the Doctor and his crew, his team. We're a team now. It's a fantastic feeling. We can still bicker, we can still have a little bit of mistrust and understanding, but because of the events in the previous 13 episodes, we've finally got to the point where we've got 4 people that seem to like each other and seem to appreciate the value in each other. And that's fabulous. So we've got our team landing on a mountaintop, and through the course of the action they meet Marco Polo, the Venetian explorer, what a ledge, Tigana, whose name will ring bells for Doctor Who fans, or ring bells in the future, anyway. Tigana, who is a Mongolian warlord, and Ping Chol, who is a 16-year-old girl about to be married to a 75-year-old important man. This was great. This was so good. For a start, I love the historical side of Doctor Who here. I love the fact that I've started to pick up tidbits of information about Marco Polo that I didn't know. I'm interested enough to go and find out more, but not until I've watched the whole of the episode, story, probably, because I don't want to spoil it in any way. We got a really nicely balanced story, whereby we got a bit of comedy. We've got a bit of danger, um, and all in all, it's just been really, really great. Key standout moments were Susan finally getting something to do in talking to Ping Chao. I hope I get that name right. I'll double check it for next time. But and let on that she's 16 years old, which just throws everything into disarray, doesn't it? When we look from the future past terminology, having Susan 16 is just a mess. But anyway, that's fine. And that culture shock between the two. Susan uses the word fab. We say it a lot on Earth, she says. Ah, oh dear, poor old Susan. The problem with Susan's character, the fundamental problem with Susan's character, is because what later happens to the Doctor and the explicit relationship between the Doctor and Susan, then anything that Susan says in retrospect is going to be problematic because she's supposed to be as mysterious and as alien as the Doctor is. You know, it's not overtly stated the Doctor's an alien by this point, but nonetheless, he's weird enough to be, and yet Susan's not. And it's tricky. You know, the whole pen torch thing in the end of last episode was perhaps the nadia of that, but by the by. But, you know, let's take it on face value. And finally, Carolyn Ford gets to do something that seems to play to her strengths, because acting weird doesn't, and being scared doesn't. Obviously, I can't see her face, so she could still be doing the shoulder thing. I can't see her moving. I just get still photographs and the conversation. Ian and Barbara, chummy, lovely, fabulous. I'm over the moon with the way that those two have fallen into the roles. Again, maybe this is helped by the fact I can't see them. You know, all I get is their voice in still photography, but you know, the pictures that I'm, you know, maybe I plug in the gaps with things that aren't there, but regardless, you know, I'm enjoying that. And William Hartnell is just so good. He's incredibly crotchety and cross at the start because the TARDIS is broken down, which I think is going to become a bit of a theme. But the TARDIS is broken down, and then at the end, when it's revealed that Marco Polo has decided to nick the TARDIS to give it to the Emperor, to Kubla Khan, to bid for his release back to Venice, rather than Doctor get all uppity, just bursts out laughing. And all the other companions go, well, why are you laughing? He goes, I have no idea. It's really, really good. He gets a lovely scene where he tastes some soup. These are all really doctory things. Thank goodness we've got some doctory stuff happening. And all the whinging and the moaning's gone out the window. It's brilliant. So, you know, our famous four are really on form here, and they're all given good things to do, interesting things to do. All the tidbits of history thrown in, that's lovely. You know, I think other people might view it and see it as forced, but it's not. It's great. It fits in. Even Ian explaining why the soup is colder than it should be is nice. You know, a science teacher comes in and says, well, actually, it's nothing to do with the cold, Mr. Sir. Does he call him Sir? Or Mr. Polo, or whatever it's called, inventor of the chicken. What's also great, and I'm going to have to reference somebody here. I have my phone, so I'll make sure I don't get this wrong. I'm reading a rather marvellous blog at the moment. Oh, you're not going to be able to see that. Okay, fine. And it's by a guy called Philip Sandifer, or Sandifer. He's not a Christian music producer, as another Philip Sandifer is, as I've just found out. He is a guy who, annoyingly, is younger than me and is clearly far cleverer than I am. And he is taking each story of Doctor Who. He said in the thing, the entry I read a couple of nights ago, that you should never watch old Doctor Who more than one episode at a time. And I completely agree with him. We nearly fell into that trap tonight, but we didn't. We kept to the rules. Anyway, early in his analysis, because it is an analysis of Doctor Who rather than just a response, which I think mine is, he talks about the way that narrative works quite early on in Doctor Who, and he talks about, spoilers here, how the chase, which is a Dalek story which is coming up in a fair few stories time, could be seen as the destruction of narrative, which I'm intrigued by because I remember the chase just being crap. But what I like, one of the things he says that Doctor Who's got the capacity to sort of crash land in other stories, in other narratives, in other types of storytelling, and that's very much that happens here, because what we get is the old trope. We see a map, because Marco Polo's travelling, and he's now taking the Doctor and his team, and we see the caravan or the dot moving, and I don't think that's a conceit on Loose Cannon's part. I think that genuinely is part of the story. So we've landed in a sort of historical drama, a road movie, for want of a better word. And you do, get the westerns and things, and then you get an overdub, a sort of narration by Marco Polo. Now, I'll repeat that. We get a narration by Marco Polo. Okay. Now, the story's not called Marco Polo at this moment. It's called Roof of the World. I don't think it gets called Marco Polo till Doctor Who fans decide it's called Marco Polo later on. And it's brilliant because it kind of takes the pressure off the programme. It kind of, whereas we've had a very much of an establishing story, a sci-fi story which stands or fails on its own merits as a sci-fi story, and then a stopgap sort of born out necessity psychological drama type thing. We've landed in something which it feels very, very comfortable. It feels a comfortable place to be. We understand what this programme is being at this point. And it feels great because our characters who we've suddenly got to know and they like each other, can just drop into it. And as a result, we're happy. It's helped also by the fact that we've got Marco Polo. I'll find out these actors' names for next time. But Marco Polo is great. Comes across really, really well. Got charisma. And steps into what in another program is the leading role. Steps in, great. We've also got Tigana, who is clearly the bad guy here, and I love the fact that the cliffhanger could have been Marco Polo saying, "I'm going to take your TARDIS or take your caravan and give it to Kublai Khan." That could have been that, right? But no, that's completely undercut by the Doctor's reaction to it, and then we get the real cliffhanger, which is Tigana saying, "I'm going to poison them all." Which is a much better cliffhanger, let's be honest. And it's built up the tension in two sort of separate little... Brilliant. And Tigana's played very, very well. Now, one downside, not going to dwell on it, all the characters, all the actors, no, not all, but certainly Tigana is played by a European actor. Okay? Bit of a shame. It would have made much more sense to have him as an actor of Asian descent, but obviously we're talking about 1964. This won't happen. Marco Polo's obviously... Venetian, so he can be played by just about anybody. But it would have been nice. But the guy who's playing him seems to have got a bit of buzz about him, so that's good. So let me restate: never seen this before in my life, and it was absolutely brilliant. I had a great time watching it. Libby had a great time watching it. We wanted to watch the next episode. Libby stopped me, quoting Donna in is it The Runaway Bride or something, saying, "You need somebody to stop you," and I did, because I would have watched it again. I would have watched the next episode because it was so good. Anyway, what a marvellous time. Had really good fun. I don't know when I'm going to watch the next one because I'm going to finish reading this book now for book club tomorrow night. It's very good. And then we're off on our travels next week, so we're going to struggle to get things done. But I'm sure we'll manage. Brilliant. Okay, see you next time. Bye.